All right, Matt. So last night I had a really weird dream. I dreamed that my spirit rose from my toilet bowl.
How bizarre is that?
Yeah, it was an out-of-potty experience.
I don't want to laugh at that, but it's funny.
Good.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Graveyard. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Adam.
And my name's Matt.
Now, pull up a tombstone or settle into your casket and get comfortable because this is Graveyard Tales. All right, everybody, here we are again. Matt, how you doing tonight, brother?
Man, I'm doing all right.
Good deal. So before we get into it, we'll say go check out the Podbelly Network at podbelly.com. You can find a list of shows that we're happy to be associated with, and you can find some tips and tricks on podcasting. And we've mentioned this on social media here recently, but we want to mention it on an episode. And if you are subscribed to us on Apple Podcast, we have noticed that people they've been telling us that they are still subscribed to us, but our new episodes are not showing up when they're new. Mm-hmm. So if y'all could do us a favor, go back, make sure that you're subscribed so that we pop up in your feed when a new episode posts. That way you don't miss us. Because I know for me, if I don't see a new episode pop up, I forget I'm listening to a show and that I need to go listen to their new episode.
Out of sight, out of mind. And it helps us out.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, even if you don't listen to it immediately, even if you're picking it up like a week later or longer, or if you're coming through, as long as it jumps into your queue,
right,
it helps our show. Just sitting in your queue. So
yeah.
That's right. Go resubscribe if you notice that it's not popping up. You may still say you're subscribed, like Adam said, but just hit it again. And that way it will show up, and you'd really be doing Adam and I a favor by doing that.
Yeah. There's something weird with one of the new iOS updates that made it do that. We're in talks with Apple right now anyway to try to figure it out. But until we can get it worked out, your help would be greatly appreciated. Also, go over to patreon.com/graveyardtales. And if you're not, sign up to become a patron. We've got 3 different levels, and we have a buttload in our back catalog of episodes that you can go back and listen to. For our regular Patreon episodes, we've got anything and everything, little shorts for haunted stuff that ties into main episodes and all that. And then for our $5 and $10 a month, they not only get the bonus episodes weekly, but they get ad-free audio and video versions of the main episode. And our $10 a month, they get all of that plus our second show, Side Quest, that we've been doing for over a year now, and we're loving. And we play games on there. We try to gross the other one out. Not too long ago, I made Matt try to guess what microscopic images were, and I made him stare at a spider wiener for a while. Just some fun stuff that we couldn't do on Graveyard Tales, but that we enjoy doing and have fun with, and we promise you're going to enjoy it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And go check out our sponsors. You help us out tremendously, not only by subscribing to the show, but Matt and I don't run ads for products that we don't believe in or that we don't personally use, because we don't feel like faking it. We're not going to take money just to take money. Right. And if you check out our vanity URLs, go look at the products they have. That helps. Use our code, get you a discount on something. That shows them that our listeners are engaged listeners, and they come back and sponsor another episode of Graveyard Tales, which helps keep us from going behind a paywall, which Matt and I never, ever want to do.
Hello, lover of things that go bump in the night. This is Dan Cummins.
And I'm Lindsay Cummins.
And we co-host the paranormal horror podcast, Scared to Death. Are shadow people real? What about demonic possessions? Poltergeist activity? Do you believe in ghosts? Malevolent entities? Are aliens real? Could you be abducted?
We don't know, but what we do know is that we have over 230 episodes of stories on our podcast, Scared to Death, exploring all of the possibilities.
Each week, we share several supposedly true stories that have been gathered from around the world and submissions from our own fans of allegedly true tales.
Curious about the paranormal? Just like a spooky story, do you need more fear to fuel you through your long workdays?
Come join us. New episodes of Scared to Death are released every Tuesday night. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. We hope you end up scared to death.
So, on that note, Matt, why don't you tell us, what are we talking about tonight, brother?
All right, so tonight we are going to head east, far east from us, okay? Or really, really far west, depending on which direction you go.
Right, you can get there either way.
We're going to visit Japan, and you know, Japan is such a uniquely cool country. You know, I love watching videos about what life in Japan is like. I mean, it's, you know, I'm just like, why aren't we doing this here? You know, why is this, well, you know, that is brilliant. You know, why can't we do it here? But there's a lot of very unique haunted places in Japan. Yeah. And so we decided that we were going to take a look at a few of them. And, you know, I don't know how you feel about it, Adam, but I think the stories, the history behind these places we chose tonight is so cool.
Yeah.
It's different than what we typically see when we look at a European location or a place here in North America. You know, because, you know, Japan's history is uniquely different from those other areas. And the culture is different. So the interpretation of what is going on and why something is happening is a little bit different. But, you know, look, I was so enthralled with this. I actually wound up researching a bunch of extra places too, so more than what we're going to talk about tonight. But yeah, so,
which means you'll probably get Patreons on those places.
That's exactly right. You know, I want to share it. They're great. But we're going to talk about the history of some places, and we're going to talk about what is haunted about them. And I think this show's going to be a little different, but I think you'll enjoy it.
Yep.
So Adam, let's dig in. I'm going to let Adam introduce each place that we talk about, and go over that, and then I'll pick up on some of the haunted stories.
Yep. So as we always say, go check our sources down at the bottom of the show notes. We got a lot of sources this time because we got a lot of places to talk about. And as we've said, Matt and I have not been to Japan. So we haven't been able to physically go there and research the place. So we've got to take it from those who have been there. So go check our sources. You can continue researching if one of these places strikes your fancy. But the first place we're going to talk about is Toyama Park in Tokyo. And this is, we're going to start all the way back in 1668. And it was one of the most famous estates in the high city called Toyama Villa. And it belonged to the Owari branch of the ruling Tokugawa family. Now, I'm going to jump in here in the notes and say, I apologize if I mispronounce something horribly. I'm doing my best. I tried to get translations where I could, so I didn't have to say some of these Japanese words because I knew my tongue would not do it. But I'm going to try. If you're listening in Japan or you're from Japan, my apologies for butchering the pronunciations. But we'll get back into it. So toward the end of the 17th century, the Owari Tokugawa built a garden inside their villa. Now, this garden was built in the spot where they had, for a long time, had a sanctified cemetery for the Tokugawa family. So they had this cemetery And then at the end of the 17th century, they decided to build a garden there. Now, the centerpiece of this garden was an artificial hill that that translated means round ridge. And so to this day, it's the highest elevation point in the city, they say. So that's a big hill. That's more than a hill to me.
You're right. Right. Yeah. That's a small mountain. It's a ridge.
Pert near a mountain, I'll tell you. But inside the garden, the family that owned the land built a mock-up of commercial streets. So it had a ton of shops. They had a rice store, they had a pharmacy, a liquor store, a blacksmith. So what I was looking up said, think Main Street, USA and Disneyland, but in a garden in the 17th century Japan. So if you've ever been to Disneyland and they've got that Main Street USA that have all the different neat shops that you can go in and all that, that's basically what this was for this ruling family, just to have a mock-up village. Mm-hmm. Now, the 15th Tokugawa shogun called Toyama Villa, quote, the most magnificent garden under the sun. So the Toyama Villa stood there for centuries until 1859, when a lot of it was lost in a big fire. Now, move on to after the overthrow of the Tokugawa shogunate in 1868, the Toyama Villa fell into the hands of the new government. So it was used as a complex of army facilities at that point. And in 1874, the area was home to the Toyama Army College, the Army's music college, medical college, and a sprawling firing range all came to the area shortly after that. So now this garden is being used for military training. Well, in 1916, the novelist Nagai Kafu wrote about the area, and he said, quote, Toyama is unusually open for the outskirts of Tokyo. It has rolling hills and plenty of trees. There is little that is artificial. In the spring, the wide expanses of grassy hills are the domain of playful children picking wildflowers. In the fall, a person of refinement may stroll through them to their heart's content. Whatever the season, there is an endless stream of art students armed with canvases with which to paint the scenery. It is truly one big open park. Oddly enough, we have the lowest of the low to thank for this gift, the Army. Toyama belongs to the Army. Part of it is a firing range for the Army College, and still another part is used as a parade ground. Nothing's perfect, I guess. So, he did not like the Army, apparently.
I was going to say, he was not a fan, I presume.
He called them the lowest of the low. So, let's move to during World War II. Now, during World War II, Toyama Park's history, they call it taking a dark turn. You know, the area housed several military medical facilities, and it's widely believed that a branch of the notorious Imperial Army's Unit 731 operated here. Now, Unit 731, they say, was infamous for conducting gruesome human experiments, primarily in China, but evidence and testimony suggest that bodies and remains from these experiments were transported to and buried in mass graves at the Toyama site. So
they would do these experiments, and when they were done, they shipped the bodies here to Toyama,
right,
to bury,
right,
unceremoniously,
right,
just like they were dumping garbage.
Yep, and a lot of that was probably to keep the bodies from being found.
Exactly. Yeah, because, I mean, these were war crimes, essentially.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
I mean, so, we got to get rid of the evidence, so we've got to take it somewhere away from where we are.
Right, right.
So they can't tie it to us.
Mm-hmm. But you take it away from where you are, but take it back to your homeland and and put it right where y'all are at. I mean, yeah, okay, you control it so you think they're not going to get in there, but still, I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a mess. If all of these accounts are true, it was a mess.
Yeah.
And they say that eyewitness accounts, and one from a nurse, Toyo Ishii, they describe how in the final days of the war, staff buried hundreds of corpses and body parts to hide evidence from advancing American forces. Now, in the following decades, the remains of over 100 individuals have been unearthed in the park, and investigations into the site's wartime activities continue to this day.
Right. And, it wasn't that long ago, 1989, they unearthed 35 human skulls and femur bones.
Oh, wow.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, that is not that long ago
Well,
for
I
them
was
to
alive, so-
still be unearthing this stuff.
Right.
They were constructing something new, and they had just raised a building there. So they were clearing out that area, and then boom, more bones.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's still a problem.
Makes you wonder how extensive it is. How long are they going to be finding bodies there?
I imagine if they keep digging, they will continue to find them for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this goes on to say that following the devastation of Tokyo in 1945, the U.S. occupation authorities, they ordered construction of public housing on the former Army College grounds. So this development was called Toyama Heights, and it apparently replaced the rolling hills with just this mass of wooden houses for the displaced residents of the area. And in 1954, city officials opened Toyama Park, and they divided it into two main zones, the Okubo, the west, and Mount Hakone to the east, and each were built on different sections of the former military campus. And by 1968, Toyama Heights had undergone a lot of redevelopment. So they took down all the wooden homes, and then they put up concrete apartment complexes. And they say part of Japan's post-war public housing movement. So this area got, I mean, it was totally changed from how it, but I mean, from the 1600s, you would expect things to change.
Well, sure, yeah.
It went through a crazy history. All right, Matt. So I had a wise man tell me one time that if you're going to invest money, and I'm not great at investing money, but he said if you're going to invest money, then you need to not freak out when the market goes up and down. Because it goes up, it goes down, and then it comes back up, and then it goes back down. So put your money in and just forget about it. Let it go.
Yeah. It's the best way to do it.
And I say all that because today's episode is sponsored in part by Acorns. And Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't have to be rich. I'm certainly not rich, but I'm able to do it because Acorns lets you get started with spare money that you have right now, even if all you have is spare change, which is a great way to do it. So you can put that spare change into the market. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns recommends diversified portfolios that can help you weather all of the market's ups and downs, which is important and goes right back to what that wise man told me years ago.
Yeah, and I found Acorns a couple of years ago, and it's a real simple, easy process, and it's a great way to just kind of forget that you're saving money and, looking to grow the money that you have. It just, when you go and buy something, and I would go spend, $6.75, and it would just round up and take that quarter and hold it back.
Right.
Okay. And as it did that with my purchases, then it takes, once I have enough, it starts to invest it for me.
Yep.
And you can go and you can check your portfolio and you can see what's going on, and you're in control, but you don't have to worry about, well, how much this time, or can I afford this? It's just taking extra change that you're probably not going to miss.
Right. Yeah, that spare change thing is a very cool feature because, like you said, you're not going to miss it, and it uses that to start investing for you. And if you wanted to, you could go in and add more, but for me, it's just easier to let it do its thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's, as Adam said, sometimes the best way to do it is to not sit there and stare at it every single day and panic or celebrate. You're going to drive yourself bonkers.
Right.
Let Acorns take care of all that for you so you can sit back and relax knowing that your money is working and growing for you without you having to really hover over it.
Right.
So, Graveyard Tales listeners, if this sounds like something that you would be interested in, and hey, who's not?
Right.
I mean, make my life a little bit easier, down the line.
Right.
Sign up now and join the over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/grave or download the Acorns app to get started.
So that's right. Sign up now and you can join over 14 million all-time customers. All you've got to do is head to acorns.com/grave or download the Acorns app to get started.
Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorn Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorn.com/grave. You're right, Adam. You do expect things to change, but one of the fascinating things about Japan is how much they have that hasn't changed, that's been preserved for centuries.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Except for this.
Yeah.
But when you know of that World War II history, you understand why. We don't want to hang on to this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But Toyama Park it's just about a 20-minute walk from Shinjuku Station. And it gets a lot of visitors, and locals say that the park has two faces, one by day and one by night. By day, you can take a nice leisurely walk. You see, families and people out, enjoying themselves, having a day at the park, and everything seems very nice. But at night, it changes abruptly. And over the years, locals and visitors have reported a number of weird experiences, including hearing a disembodied voice cry from atop the park's hill, Hokoniyama, which Adam mentioned earlier. It is said that you can hear the sound of a man sobbing from atop the hill late at night.
That's creepy.
Yeah. But a lot of people connect the hauntings directly to this, essentially the scene of, these mass burials from human experimentation.
Well, sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was essentially a dumping ground. And so there's no surprise that there's a lot of paranormal activity that goes on there.
Mm-hmm.
Now Adam touched on these experiments. According to some old papers that were found from the World War II era, that unit 731 actually infected prisoners with diseases.
Jeez.
And then they would dissect the infected prisoners so that they could see firsthand what the diseases were doing to their body.
Yeah.
And so they would come up with these weird infectious concoctions just to see what it would do. And then they would dissect them so they could see, oh, well, this damages the liver and the kidneys. Oh, well, this causes some type of brain, problem, or, this causes the blood vessels to rupture. I mean, and I am sure that at some point, these, I'm going to call them scientists. I don't know that they were, but they thought that this information was valuable.
Right.
But to what expense? I mean, you're basically doing these on prisoners of war, which made it a war crime.
Mm-hmm. And I would venture to say they probably did learn a lot from that.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, was gaining that knowledge worth the lives that they ruined and took eventually?
Yeah. I mean, if they were going to execute a prisoner, they didn't have to do it this way.
Right.
There were much more humane ways to do it.
Right.
But among the various creepy stories that come out of Toyoma Park, one of the most compelling is that of the woman wearing white. Well, at least it's not, the lady in white. It's the woman wearing white.
But, I mean, she's even made it to Japan.
I know it. She's everywhere. They don't. Now, I'm waiting for the ghost that wears plaid.
Right. Right. It'll be the hipster ghost. When hipsters start to come back as ghosts, you'll see them in their flannel with their cuffed pants over their boots.
But as we all know, thanks to Steve Martin, dead men don't wear plaid.
Yeah. Dang it.
Now, according to the neighborhood legend, the spirit of a young woman wearing streaming white robes torments the entertainment region, particularly at night. Witnesses say that they have seen her skimming along through the region's pathways. They say that her ethereal form is illuminated by the nightfall. So she has this glow about her. Some will say that it's just the ghost of this young, beautiful woman, but others believe that she is a spirit of impending doom. She's forewarning of something that is going to happen. And that may be due to the history there. They may think, well, we're going to eventually see some retribution for what was done here.
Yeah.
And, she is the
harbinger.
The harbinger. Absolutely.
Sorry. I dropped I reached over to grab something and knocked my water bottle over. Sorry.
Now, another legend from Toyoma Park is that of the cursed pond. Now, it is said that the pond is inhabited by these fierce spirits of the people who died inside its boundaries. Locals warn visitors about wandering too close to the pond, as spirits may be looking to drag unsuspecting folks into the water. Now, we've heard there's old Irish legends about that too. We talked about water babies a week or two ago.
Yep.
Now, visitors have said that they get this uneasy feeling, or this feeling of dread when they get near the pond. But they said it's almost like they're being watched from the pond, like someone is out on the water watching them. Which, that's got to be one of the weirdest sensations. You just know when somebody is staring you down.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something about it. What are they, what is it? The cats, they have that, was it the pineal gland? Is that what it is? It's a thing that, you wonder why you can't sneak up on your cat. It's because they have this thing right here that senses that you're behind them.
Oh, yeah.
That's, Lizards have it. Our bearded dragon, Lizzie, she has that. You know,
Yep.
it's like, well, they don't see, but they know.
Yeah,
You know, they know that something's behind them.
I know
It's
on
a
lizards, it's a
defense
shadow thing that
Yeah.
they catch changes in the light, and so they'll know something. It's probably to avoid birds and other stuff.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Predators come from there, so I need to know.
got to watch my back.
Humans, I think, have some type of intuition like that. So you know.
I think so. Yeah.
You're walking out past this pond, and you're like, "Is there somebody out there?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's watching us." You know, it's just, ugh. This is a
Yeah.
weird, creepy feeling.
I don't like that feeling.
No.
Of all the weird feelings you get in haunted places or whatever, that's the one that bothers me the most, is not seeing something. It's the not seeing something.
Yeah.
Like, I can deal with seeing something, but it's when you know there's something there but you don't see it.
Mhm.
That's the worst part, because you don't know where's the threat coming from? Where do I need to fight? You know?
Yeah. You know what? You know where I feel it the most? Red lights.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting there at a red light, you know, doing what you do at red lights, you know, playing drums on your steering wheel, picking your nose, whatever.
Scratching your butt.
Uh-huh. And you're like looking ahead, and you're like, somebody just saw me do that.
Yeah.
And you don't want to look, because then you're kind of like, you know, just now you've made eye contact, so it's super weird. But man, I get that feeling like,
Yep.
man, this dude's looking at me. He's looking at me. I want him to quit looking at me. Will this light not change so he can quit looking at me?
Yep. I've had that happen a few times where I wasn't doing anything. I was off in my own little world thinking, just staring straight ahead.
Yeah.
But I got that feeling, and I turn and I look over out my driver's side window, and yeah, the person in the vehicle is staring at me from there, and they do that jump like, oh, God, they caught me looking.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
What are you staring at? Stop it. You're creeping me out. I know I'm a gorgeous man, but stop it.
Right. Quit looking at me. Don't watch me do stuff.
Yeah, that'll be $5 now. You got a voyeur show. You got to pay me.
But you know what would a haunted park in Japan be without the ghost of a samurai?
Oh, yeah.
You know, and the park supposedly is the home of a spirit of a dishonored samurai who took his own life, and his death left a curse on that area. So his spirit is doomed to wander that region. The legend says that he is seeking retribution. So it's best to avoid crossing his path.
Yeah, I would think so.
And visitors that have experienced the samurai spirit have reported hearing the sound of footsteps behind them, following them through the park. But when they turn around, there's, of course, no one there. So that's another audible footstep behind you, especially at a park. Can you imagine crunching leaves and stuff? And you're like, I know there's somebody right behind me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I cannot tolerate somebody to be walking behind me. I was walking into Walmart the other day, and this guy was just walking into the store, but he was behind me.
Yeah.
And it made me a nervous wreck. I don't know why. It was nothing special about this guy.
Now,
He was just walking.
If they're too close to me, I get that same feeling. I have to, I don't want them directly behind me. And for some reason, there are people that it's like they got to step in your footsteps, and they'll walk right behind you. Real
This
close.
guy was like 3 cars back,
yeah.
as I'm walking. It was totally irrational, but
Yeah.
I don't like it when people are
I don't
behind
think
me.
that would have gotten me. It's when they get too close behind me that bothers me.
But disembodied voices are also a very common occurrence in Toyama Park. And oddly enough, many of the voices that are reported are not speaking Japanese. Chinese, Russian, and Mongolian are often the languages that are heard.
You know, that makes sense if they're bringing people from areas and burying them there.
That's exactly right. The victims of those experiments were mostly Chinese, Russian, and Mongolian.
Yep.
So they moved those victims' bodies into what would become Toyoma Park. Those are the voices you're going to hear. Those are the spirits that are crying out.
Right.
So you don't hear them in Japanese because they weren't Japanese. Now, strange noises, shadowy figures, and apparitions have all been reported by locals and tourists. Some even say that there are parts in the park where the temperature will suddenly drop. And others have said when this happens, when they feel that drop in temperature, they will feel this energy, quote unquote energy, brush past them. Like a spirit has just walked right by them.
Oh,
when they felt it go past them, which is kind of an odd feeling too. I've never felt that, but it sounds like I don't want to.
Yeah. I've heard it described as like a buzzing feeling, like a little electrical, like when you get that static electricity feeling.
Oh, yeah.
I've had people describe it like that to me. And I'm like, well, I've never personally experienced that. But it feels like it would be
unpleasant.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the show Ghosts?
No, I wanted to, and I'm just so far behind now. I'm a little intimidated to start.
It's cute. Piper and Amanda got into it, so I've watched it a few times. One of the ghosts, whenever he passes through somebody, it smells like a fart. So whenever he goes through somebody, it stinks, and I always thought that is hilarious to me. That,
man, if I'm ever a ghost, I hope I have that ability.
Yeah,
because
right.
I would just ghost fart all over the place, and you go sit down next to this really pretty girl in a theater that thinks she's hot stuff and can do no wrong, and you fart, and then it smells, and everybody thinks it's her, and I'd love it.
That's hilarious. Now, there are stories about Hitodama, which are these orange, red, or bluish white orbs of light that appear as a result of a person's soul separating from their body. These have been seen all throughout the park, and some people describe them as circles of light, so maybe not like necessarily a sphere or what we would think of as an orb, but more of a ring, like a frisbee. Light. Yeah. But again, like I said, culturally, these stories take on a new meaning, where, in the Western world, the orbs and everything may have another, how many different descriptions have we had for what orbs are,
right?
Here, but, in Japan, one of the ideas is that this is the soul leaving the body.
All right, Matt, so let's take a second and talk about one of tonight's sponsors, MasterClass. Now, y'all have heard us rave about MasterClass before, but I am getting ready to give my dad a MasterClass subscription for Father's Day. And I'll tell you why. It's because I have had so much fun with the meat smoking, the Texas barbecue class, and all that stuff. And he's into smoking meat, grilling, barbecuing. So I think it'd be great for him to be able to take a class basically for free because I'm paying for it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
For Father's Day on how to, smoke meat by professionals. And because you know what they say, once a man hits 40, he either gets into World War II or smoking meat. So I figure smoking meat is a lot better for him to get into than World War II stuff and sitting and watching documentaries. He can sit here and watch professionals teach him how to do stuff. And they've even got stuff on, how to build your dream home on here from professionals. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he says about it because I have loved it so much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with MasterClass, you learn from the best to become your best. MasterClass is the only streaming platform where you can learn and grow with over 200 of the world's best. And for still only $10 a month billed annually, a membership with MasterClass gets you unlimited access to every single instructor. That's an amazing deal.
Yeah,
Nothing is left out. You know, you want to bring your dream home to life on a budget? You know, see what Joanna Gaines has to say about that. You want to improve your physical and mental well-being with leading gut and brain health experts? Then there's tons of them there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are the people that have done it, that know what they're talking about, and you can learn from them. You want to turn your passion into achievements? Who better else to listen to than Martha Stewart herself?
Right.
And the classes really make a difference. 88% of members feel that MasterClass has made a positive impact on their lives. Plus, every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. If it's just not for you, you can get your money back. But I guarantee you are going to find something that really taps into something you're interested in, and you can learn from the masters.
For sure.
Our listeners always get great discounts at MasterClass of at least 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/graveyard. That's GRAVEYARD. See MasterClass's latest deal at least 15% off at masterclass.com/graveyard.
That's right. You can get the latest deal of at least 15% off. All you got to do is go to masterclass.com/graveyard, GRAVEYARD. That's masterclass.com/graveyard.
And they say that if you go to the park at night and you try to take a photograph, the probability of capturing something like this, like these Hitodama, these red and orange lights, is very, very high. You know, so there's a really good chance if you're dead set on maybe catching some evidence, take your camera out to Toyoma Park at night, and you got a much higher probability of getting something when you go back and look at those pictures.
Yeah, and I know we have some listeners in Japan. I've seen you.
Do.
I know. So please take a trip to Toyama Park and get me a picture of these ghost frisbees.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one we've got is Doriodo Temple. And Doriodo Temple are now ruins, but we'll talk about that. Doriodo Temple translates one of the translations that they have for it, because I found a couple different ones, but the one that I found used the most is End of the Road Temple. It was actually established in 1874 in Yaramizu, Hachioji, Tokyo. And it was established by a wealthy merchant named Atsuka Gorokichi. And the temple was dedicated to the syncretic kami deity Doryo-san. So it transferred from another local temple. Isenji, I think is how it's pronounced. Well, its location was along the historic Silk Road, and it was between Hachioji and Yokohama, and that made it a very popular spot for travelers and traders during the late 19th century. So you can imagine, we've heard stories of the Silk Road and how traveled it was for trade and everything, and trade of silk and other spices and stuff like that. Well, this temple was built along this road, so it got a bunch of foot traffic. Well, they say in 1890, 2 groups of stone lanterns were set up at the temple at the top of the stairs. So this was to be the last major addition to the temple. And the temple flourished briefly, and then it nosedived due to economic changes. Well, then in 1908, the Tokohama Railway, they say today it's known as the JR Yokohama line. It opened and it connected Hachioji and Yokohama by faster Western technology. So basically, the railroad that they installed killed all of the foot traffic that happened along the Silk Road.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've seen that, in ghost towns here in the U.S., they put a railway in that doesn't stop by that town, and then the town goes under. So that's what happened with this temple. You know, they say temples and shrines were often built on main roads because travelers and pilgrims would stop there. They'd patronize the religious institutions and, you know, maybe trade stuff. And so it provided constant source of income for the temple. Well, when the railroad started taking over, the shrines and temples that were located further from these stations had a sharp decrease in revenue. You know, relatively unknown temples like Dorioto suffered particularly bad in those times. They just didn't know about these temples, so they didn't go there even after, like, you don't really know that temple's there, but you passed it on the Silk Road, so you're, okay, I'll stop there. Well, now that the train's in, it's like, you don't know about it and you're not going to see it. So why would you go out of your way to go to the Dorioto temple if you had no idea it was there? But the temple became pretty, I want to say famous, but maybe more infamous because of two crimes that happened in the relatively recent past. In 1963, Asai Toshi, an elderly woman that was put in charge of maintaining the temple, she was murdered during a robbery. Mm-hmm. So the few savings, the tiny little bit of savings that the temple had was stolen, and her body was left on the grounds. And the other one that they had, that they were 10 years later, that they became infamous for. So in 1973, Rikyo University student was allegedly involved in an affair with her professor, Hiroshi Oba. And she got murdered by him. And so after killing her, Oba buried her body near the temple. After that, he went and killed his wife and 2 children and then took his own life. Well, the student's body that he buried there was not discovered for 7 months. And after these incidents, Dorioto Temple kind of fell further into ruin because people were like, ugh, I don't want to, I mean, this has got some bad mojo around this temple.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the people still didn't know about it, and the ones who did were like, I don't want to go there. I might get killed. Every 10 years, somebody gets killed around this temple. I don't want to go. So after it declined even further, they ended up demolishing the temple completely in the 1980s. It's now located within Otsukayama Park, and people still say that it has an eerie reputation to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, you know, the sight of 2 grisly murders.
Yeah.
You know, it's absolutely going to hold on to some negative energy.
Sure.
And what's interesting about these particular ghost stories is almost immediately after the 1963 murder of Asai Toshi, rumors began to spread among the locals that if you listen closely, you could hear the ghost of the old woman sobbing in the forest. Now, some people believe that she is begging for her life to be spared. Others say she is crying out for forgiveness for not protecting the temple. I mean, she was an old woman. I don't know what. It's like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
You know, I did the best I could, and they killed me anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that gives you her sense of duty, though. If that is her reason for being there, that's a sense of duty that probably a lot of people wouldn't have.
Yeah, it would definitely be something you would think would tie her spirit to that temple, or at least to the area where the temple stood. Now, after the body of the murdered female student was discovered in 1973, people began to report hearing a voice calling, I'm here, when they were walking near where the body was found. So
that's wild.
Yeah, like her spirit was crying out to help them find her, because as Adam said, it was 7 months before they found her body. Now, ghost hunters have claimed that these are not the only voices that you hear. They have also captured different voices, but it's unclear who they would belong to. And this, Adam, this is where it gets kind of freaky, okay?
All right. I'm ready.
So I know I'm going to mispronounce this, but I think you'll get the point. So the Japanese word for death is shi.
Yep.
Okay? SHI. And the Japanese word for the number 4 sounds a lot like she.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
So some speculate that since Asai Toshi's murder happened in 1963, the female student was murdered in 1973, and the temple closed in 1983, that the connection between the word for death and the word for the number 4 indicate that there is another undiscovered murder that possibly occurred here. You know, possibly in 1953.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is an interesting theory, but the number 4 is very unlucky.
Yes.
In Japan. So
that'll come up again here in a minute. So just remember that Matt talked about that.
It does come up. So you may think, well, what does it matter 4, but that's why. It would be the same if here in the West, if we found 13 bodies, we were like, oh my God, 13 or
666.
Yeah, something like that. Those numbers are significant.
If I find 666 bodies, that's that in and of itself. That's too many dang bodies. So 666 is terrible, even without
the worst. Yeah,
even without the connotation of the number.
Right. So the number 4 has that same connotation in Japan, and so there's a lot of people that believe that these bad things would have happened in 4s. So something must have happened. Or could possibly have happened before that we just never knew about.
It makes sense. I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, it's creepy enough to me that all of this stuff happened exactly 10 years apart.
Right.
Well, I mean, not exactly, but 10 years apart, from 73 to 83.
Yep.
It is unusual to say the least.
Yep. I agree. And it's, like you said, it would make sense that there would be something else that happened there. But the weird calling out of the here, I'm here thing, that gets under my skin a little bit. That's like, ew. You're walking past the dead body, not knowing you're walking past the dead body. And they're like, hey, I'm here. I'm here. That would just, then once you found the body, you'd be like, oh, crap. That's what.
And, not to add even more creep factor to this as it is, but when Obayashi, isn't that his name? I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not only did he murder this student, he murdered his family. by throwing them off a cliff. If true stories of the strange and unexplainable are your thing, and trust me, if you're listening to Adam and I, it's your thing.
True.
You need to hear Odd Trails. Each week, Andy and Brandon explore firsthand encounters submitted by listeners, stories of lost time, cryptids in the woods, ghostly visits, and reality glitches that defy all logic. A lot of the same stuff Adam and I like.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry, they save the personal banner for the very end.
Now, these aren't campfire tales or secondhand urban legends. They're raw, deeply personal accounts from people who experienced something they can't explain and haven't forgotten. Odd Trails is for anyone drawn to the eerie, the mysterious, and the question, what's really out there? So search for Odd Trails wherever you get your podcast. But fair warning, don't listen alone.
Okay, and so there's speculation about that too. Did he open up to his family and tell them, I have dishonored our whole family?
Yeah, maybe.
By doing this, by having this relationship, by murdering her, and so to save face, we must commit this familial suicide.
Yeah.
By jumping off this cliff. I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently at some point it was a thing. And so just the fact, because I would have never thought about that.
No.
I would have never thought that he would go, look, I really screwed up bad. I did this. Our family name is Mud right now. So we all have to go and jump off a cliff. Because of something I did.
Right.
Because I'd be like, I don't want you to jump off a cliff, but I'm not going to jump off a cliff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but you go first. I'll follow.
So there was some speculation. Maybe he convinced them as opposed to just pushing them.
Oh, yeah,
but,
maybe.
I mean, his children.
I know. I know.
I mean, how horrible.
And I'm just glad that we don't have that anymore in our society, because I have family members that have certainly disgraced the last name, and I ain't going out for them. Yeah, I ain't going out for them. I mean, that's no. Yeah. Okay, so the last one we got tonight is Kyoto Tunnel. Now, Kyoto Tunnel is located near Kyoto. Now, this tunnel was constructed between 1927 and 1928, and it was part of the Adagoyama Railway project. So Kyoto Tunnel, it's this one-lane tunnel through the mountain, and it's roughly 444 meters in length. So as Matt said, the number 4 is considered unlucky in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So 444 is considered to be real unlucky.
Yeah.
And like Matt said, because 4 is pronounced basically the same way as death in Japan. So, I would, if you know this, why didn't you add some extra to the end of the tunnel or something? I know the mountain that it's going through maybe is only 444 meters, but add a tube or something onto the end of it for an extra 3 or 4 meters.
Yeah, just anything.
Yeah. Maybe
Put an awning over the last.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do an awning for another 100 meters and just have it 500 meters. And you don't have to worry about it. Anyway, but they said the Kyoto Tunnel was constructed by slaves at the time. Now, this is 1927, 1928. Well, construction, they say, was carried out under harsh and exploitative conditions. And there's a lot of accounts that say the laborers were unpaid and worked in dangerous environments. There were a ton of fatalities that occurred during its construction, including accidents, the harsh working conditions that they were in, And there were even executions in the vicinity of the tunnel. So you think, okay, I got a tunnel that it's death meters long, and now there's going to be execution near it. But some people claim that up to 30 construction workers lost their lives in the construction of this tunnel, and some of the bodies were never recovered. So they think they're entombed inside these tunnel walls.
Mm-hmm.
So they may have had an accident and like a cave in or something, and they just left them and kept building the tunnel, which I know that's happened in the U.S. with mining and stuff. They can't get to all the bodies, so it becomes their final resting place.
Right.
Now, these deaths are central to the tunnel's haunted reputation, they say, because of those spirits. But, like I said, during the time of the construction, there were reports and some local legends that people were executed there at the tunnel site. They don't have any specific details about the identities or circumstances of the executions, but that's kind of typical for folklore and oral history. But the mentions of the executions are consistent through all of the accounts. Anybody telling this story, whether they've talked to each other or not, have the executions within that oral tradition. So it makes me think that it's probably true. If there are people that unknown to each other that have the same stories, I kind of tend to say, okay, that's probably true. Now, after the tunnel opened, it was prone to accidents. You know, as part of the Adogayama Railway, and when the railway was pulled out and it became a road tunnel. So now, it's a road tunnel, not a railway tunnel, but there were over 120 traffic accidents that have been recorded inside the tunnel, and a lot of those resulted in fatalities. Now, the secluded forested area above the tunnel is known as a suicide spot. So they say that many locals and police will say that the site has been home to multiple suicides over the decades. But the official statistics are closely guarded, so not going to be able to get those. Yeah. But, if you talk to police officers and locals, they'll tell you that, yeah, it's a suicide spot, kind of like Aokigahara.
That's what I was going to say. It's like Aokigahara.
Right.
But all of that combined, you can see why this tunnel would be a little bit haunted. I mean, the number of fatalities from traffic accidents, the number of fatalities around the workers that built it. There were victims of railway accidents, and these reports of executions. I mean, executions.
I know.
I don't know. But it said that all of these spirits are seen wandering inside the tunnel at night. And of course, as Adam mentioned, 444 meters long. It's a very, very unlucky area. So there's more negativity that's attached to it. One of the common things that's reported is seeing spirits reflected in the road mirrors that are situated outside of the tunnel entrances, or in the car mirrors and, the side view or the rear view mirrors. And that is supposed to bring about a very violent or painful fate. So not only are you witnessing a ghost, it is another one of these bad omens that may be a predictor that something bad is going to happen to you in the near future.
Yep. And
so
that
it's crazy to me that, I never want to be driving and look in my rearview mirror and see something that I think I just drove through.
Right. I mean, that I would see causing accidents in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
You're driving through a tunnel and then you have this spirit show up in your mirror and you freak out and you get in an accident in this 1-lane tunnel. I mean,
and the only thing it said the mirrors that are situated on the outside of the tunnel. I'm guessing that's like I've seen where they'll put those convex mirrors that kind of give you like a 180-degree view, something like that, so that you could see if somebody was coming around the corner.
Yeah.
If the tunnel, it's not a straight tunnel, that's for sure. It kind of winds. So if somebody's whipping through coming out of the tunnel and you're driving in, there's a really good chance that you may not be aware of that and, cause a collision there. There are also claims that the traffic signals outside of the tunnel can suddenly change from red to green at night, and that causes accidents in the oncoming traffic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That seems like that would be something that you could easily fix and automate. So if it's malfunctioning, if it's doing something, what is causing that?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I go to is spirits that are,
exactly.
Mad and causing the accidents on purpose.
They mess with electronics. How many times have we heard that? So why not a traffic signal as well?
Yeah.
And as Adam said, this is a popular suicide spot because of the wooded seclusion and the sturdiness of the trees above the tunnel. There is a story of a woman who jumped to her death from the road located above the tunnel entrance. And there are stories of still being able to see her spirit follow through with this.
God, man. Can you imagine driving and seeing that?
Yeah, it'd be horrific to see it in real life. Imagine seeing it replayed by her spirit.
Yep.
How terrifying that would be.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fear of mine that like anytime I'm on the interstate and I'm driving and there's like roads that cross over the interstate or whatever, I'm constantly looking up because I'm worried that something's going to come off of that and it potentially could be a human. And I know it happens not as frequent as you would think, just jump, but I don't want that to happen. And that's for some reason a fear I have when driving under those overpasses.
Yeah. I mean, a body, a rock,
mm-hmm.
a beer can, half a Big Mac, whatever, it just comes flying off, smack right in the windshield.
3 ducks and a moose. None of it. I don't want any of it.
Now, here, just some key things about the tunnel. These scary incidents occur late at night when entering the tunnel. Some people report that they can hear a woman scream that can be heard coming from the forest around the tunnel. The length of the tunnel is said to change when making a return trip. So it has been argued that the slope changes depending on which side of the tunnel you enter. Okay. So, Arashiyama, to Kyoto slopes downward, which they say makes it deceivingly shorter. Okay.
I'm confused.
Okay. So this is what this is saying. So because one entrance of the tunnel, you kind of go downhill, it makes it seem like it's a shorter distance.
Oh, okay.
Than when you come in and go uphill.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. it's not going to make it appear that much shorter or
Right.
that much longer for you to really take notice of it.
Right. Yeah.
So if people have been routinely reporting that when I come back through the tunnel, it took me a hell of a lot longer to get through it than it did the first time I went through it.
Mm-hmm.
Long enough for me to go, that took a while longer.
Yeah.
It's not just because of the slope.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's that seems like it wouldn't, like you said, it wouldn't affect it enough for you to, be thinking, wow, that was quick. I mean, I always feel like the return journey from anywhere takes longer than it does to get there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's that or I don't know. That doesn't seem like a good explanation to me.
The idea is that inside that tunnel is some kind of weird time slip or portal that lengthens your journey depending on the direction you're coming. Who knows? Somebody's going to have to time it and show me some numbers.
Yeah, clock it in miles and everything.
Yep. There is another woman in white that's known to run from the tunnel and jump on the hood of cars waiting at traffic signals.
No thanks.
Dizziness, nausea, and headaches can occur while traveling through the tunnel, but it says this may be due to poor ventilation and a buildup of exhaust fumes. Yeah, it absolutely could be. I mean, that's a reasonable idea.
Yeah.
But how long are you in this damn tunnel?
Right.
Where is this stuff building up? I mean, it's not like it's closed on either end.
Yeah.
But that to me is a pretty reasonable explanation.
Yeah, if you're hanging out in there.
Yeah.
But aren't you driving through it and got to get out? It's one lane. You got to get out so other people can get in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the coolest thing is that it says it's warned that all the ghost activity around the tunnel happens at night. So if you're driving and you're going to have to go through the tunnel at night, it's recommended that you go a different way. During the day, you can go through it all you want. But at night, you may want a detour.
Yeah. And, that's not bad advice.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If I was driving home alone and I knew there was a haunted tunnel on my route, I'd probably go a different way too.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Let's not test fate here.
Mm-hmm. True.
So, like Adam said at the top of the show, we have listeners in Japan. We know we've seen it. So if you know of more about these places that we discussed tonight, or if you know a really cool place and a story that's affiliated with it that we didn't talk about tonight, let us know. Like I said, I've got a few more, so we're going to hit these again at some point. And the best place to do that is in our Facebook group. It's called The Graveyard. We've got thousands of members just in there sharing, good stories, personal experiences. They're asking for help. Well, how do I get this damn spirit out of my house?
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. It's great. Don't forget to go to our website, which is graveyardpodcast.com. There you can find links to purchase Graveyard Tales merchandise. You can listen to the show, and that is where you can become a patron and get access to that huge back catalog of bonus content, side quests, videos. It's immense. It is well worth your time to check out, and you'd be helping out the show, which we sincerely appreciate.
Yep.
Don't forget, go back and check on Apple Podcasts. Make sure that you are subscribed. It's a big favor for Adam and I, and it really helps out the show. So until next time, we'll save you a seat in the graveyard.
See you soon.